Yes, sir. We are up and at 'em on a Monday. It is Barn Burner here for FlamesNation.ca. We're here in our Tower Chrysler studios, which are very bright. We have new lights. We have new cameras. It's been a big week. We've added some new stuff.
Have we got a mascot yet? I feel like we need a mascot.
I feel like you're the mascot. Are you not?
Okay.
Is that not on your pay stub?
I saw something else there, but
Yeah.
I feel like it's a decent start.
Well, you have
The Friday outfit was pretty mascot-esque.
You could be again very lumberjacky again today with the toque, the beard. You could be a team mascot.
I'm pretending to be very masculine. I hope that's working well.
It's really good. Yeah, it's
through
showing.
the internet. Yeah.
And there's the Rhettster, Rhett Warner, in his Buffalo studios. Good morning, Rhett.
How are we today, man? Not good. What?
Not bad. It's not bad.
Family's home Thursday, but Thursday morning. So really they're home Wednesday night. And it's like, I haven't done anything of all the things I said I'd get done for them to be
That
back.
feels fast. Mine were away for 5 days. It felt a little too short. The day of arrival back home, it was very much one more day would be, maybe even two, maybe one or two more days would be okay.
Try 21 days. It was 21.
Is there something to be said? Is there anything to be taken from the fact that we so enjoy the time when our kids and spouses are away?
Oh, it's just absence makes the heart grow fonder, Dean. You know, you don't know what you got till it's gone. That's all. There's something like that. Something.
Cinderella.
Don't know what you got till it's gone.
Nice. Very nice. A rare Monday treat for you, gentlemen. I hope you're ready.
Monday treat?
Yeah, that's right.
It's a holiday
It's
here
Day.
in America.
It is.
Yes, happy Martin Luther King Day, Rhett.
There's games on here shortly. 20 minutes.
Yeah, 20 minutes. Puck drops.
Yeah.
That's going to be a fun one right there. Two teams trying to get into the bubble in the East. Maybe they're on the bubble.
Getting into the mix.
Yeah. Try to reel in the Penguinos.
But so it's so the Martin Luther King Day. It's nothing here.
It's Monday here.
It's just Monday here.
Yeah.
But we have Frank Seravalli, our NHL insider, joining us.
Well, it's a holiday there. There's no way he'd be joining us.
Well,
today.
he sent me a message early this morning. He said, "Hey, is there any chance I can come on today? Because I am traveling this week." Now we know he's traveling next week when he comes north of the border.
Is this how long it takes to get to Jasper?
I don't know.
Today
Is Frank extended Jasper trip? Are you going up to do some ice glacier walking or something? What's happening up with you, Seravalli?
Where is he?
He's
here?
here.
I wish.
Oh, yeah.
No, I'm heading to an undisclosed city this weekend to spend 48 hours with the front office, and I have to do some significant reporting, and I'll report back.
This wouldn't be the Chicago trip that got canceled earlier. It would definitely be something else, eh?
Yeah, no, that's it. That's the one. Yeah.
Whoops, sorry.
Very good.
That's all right.
I remember he was going to go, and then timing.
No, I actually, so that was a really tough trip. I was actually on the plane on the way there, and I got a text, and they said, "Hey, we're going to need to cancel." And I was like, really? Yeah, so got there and then had to just turn right around and come back home.
What?
To your wife and kids, which obviously would have made you very happy.
Probably just about as excited as that is Rush Street, right?
Still going to miss you guys, but great news.
Frank?
I'm not going on the trip. I'm back home.
Everyone.
Yeah, I had to kick him out when I got back home. It was great.
Yeah.
Was it old school when the guy was on the trip and he got to get home early?
Oh, that was
Sincerely flying home from San Diego.
Oh, I'm here for the GB.
yeah.
Oh, what a show. Frank was giving me help. Frank was giving me crap before the show started in the pregame, but I have to, and to no one's shock, I turned the game off when it was 5-1, 6-1 in the second period, and had no idea that the score ended up being 6-5 for the Flames and Dallas Stars on Saturday afternoon.
That they shittered themselves in the third. Yeah,
It was
Absolutely
very
soiled
funny.
themselves.
We're on the ODR for a little 3-on-3 tourney on Saturday, and everyone's like, "Oh, what's the score? Where are we at here?" Teams are on and off, trying to keep track of that game because it was a noon start here. And it's like 6-2 after 40. man, like finally they get to have a stress-free third. Like they probably know what that feels like. It's 6-5 now.
Just another 1-goal game. Yeah, that's right.
Committed to it. 1-goal games only.
Okay, so riddle me this, and I understand how the third period went. But Dan Vladar, 7-0-3, if I'm not mistaken. Is that the run that he's on?
Yep. Last regulation loss, October 26th.
October 26th. Wow, that's quite a while ago.
Yeah.
And yet Daryl Sutter says that he is just paving the way, keeping the seat warm for Jacob Markstrom's next string of games, even though the Flames have points in 14 of their last 16. Why? What's with the I know I'm supposed to have the answer, not asking the question, but what's with the insistence of going back to Markstrom?
Well, I mean, was it a week ago? We talked about how he loves playing his number ones about 70 times a year.
He does. He does love having a solid number one, but you have to have a solid number one before you can kind of do that. But I think it's part of what you said. Yeah. But it's part of what you said about the extended point streak that the Flames they've gotten so many points in so many games. Vladar's only played a few of them. So even though Markstrom hasn't looked sharp and he shit his pants in Chicago, he kinda and St. Louis. I guess it was St. Louis, wasn't it? Not Chicago.
Yes.
Anyway, Chicago wasn't good either. It was 3-11 in Chicago and he got pulled.
He was getting points, I guess, is my point I'm trying to make. So I'm with you. Play Vladar but was Vladar good? Giving up 3 in the third on Saturday? I don't know.
Yeah, or do you not care at that point because it's a 4-goal game and you think everyone's slumped and relaxed and kicked up their feet? Daryl seemed to care.
Well,
6-1, the loose play
the
in
Markstrom.
Front, yeah,
the points have come the points have come in spite of his play.
Yeah.
I mean, even just look at the calendar year, 2023, January, 4 appearances, 1-1-1, but an .875 save percentage. I mean,
yeah, his good game was the Islanders at home, and that was really the rarity of what feels like the season, a game that they just got a lead and it really didn't feel close at all, rather than the hang on for the tense bite your nails off third period.
I would think the answer truly, Frank, is just that it's tradition for Daryl and he's comfortable with it. But I don't think that, and eventually Markstrom will get a start. And if he plays well, I'm sure Daryl will start to use him more, but I don't think he's rushing out to get him back in.
I think he'll start tonight.
Really?
Just reading the comments that Frank alluded to and Daryl's post game on Saturday. Well, it was obvious he was going to start today. It's an afternoon game. You're on the road. We got to get Markey lined up for a nice little stretch here. You're like, oh boy.
I liked how Francis kind of phrased the question that with the play of Vladar, it kind of allowed him to have some options in net for the game against Nashville, which means is he playing well, or is it because they pissed away a 5-goal lead today and he didn't look great in the third period that now allows you to put Markstrom back in rather easily if Vladar stands in his head and it's a 6-1, 7-1 kind of game? Geez, you got to keep rolling with this guy. But it does make it easier to go back to Markstrom. I'm with you. Based on what he said, just getting Markstrom for the next string of games.
Yeah.
Does not sound like it's Vladar tonight.
And maybe we'll give Daryl a little bit of credit in the long game. You know, he probably knows Vladar's in better form right now, but he might want to, continue to try to round Markstrom into some form because I think he knows he's going to need that guy in the spring playing well. But I think Frank's point's a good one, and it's not unnoticed in this market. The better of the two goalies, it's not a debate. It's been Vladar.
I just don't think it's a position where you play yourself into it. I think it's a position where you need some time to take 10 days off and reevaluate and hit the reset button, because whatever's happened from start to finish to this point in the year, Markstrom has been the second best goalie, to your point. And to ride Vladar, I don't see anything wrong with it. And you could make the argument, oh, well, just from a pure contract perspective, this needs to be Markstrom's crease. Or even if you want to say, well, for the long game, this is the guy that you want starting game one of the Stanley Cup playoffs in Markstrom, that's fine. But it's January 16th and we're a long way off from even being in that discussion. You got to ride Vladar, I think, in order to even get you in.
awfully tight in the Western.
Suddenly.
The Western picture here. I know you don't really care about the West, Frank. We know
it's
where
too late at night. Yeah,
you care about, but certainly looking even in the Pacific Division, because that's where our focus is. Vegas tops with 58. Edmonton, Calgary in the final two. Wild Cards 51, 7 points separating the 5 teams there.
And Seattle, if you look at the games played, you can make a case that there's a team that could win the division.
Yeah, I was going to say, and Seattle has games in hand as many as 4. And
Colorado
look like they may be performing better than anybody right now in that in the division. What about the Kraken, and what do you see in the Pacific?
Well, they set an NHL record for 7 wins on a 7-game or longer road trip. The only team that's ever won all of their games on a road trip. And with that, you mentioned the math. I'm going to tell you right now, you can carve it into stone. The Seattle Kraken, welcome to the 2023 Stanley Cup playoffs. They're in. The math is so supportive for them. They're a 667 team actually leading the Pacific Division in points percentage ahead of Vegas. And when you just look at what's required to get in, they need 40 points over their final 40 games, just a 500 stretch of hockey, when it's easier than ever to be playing 500 hockey. Vancouver has mostly been playing 500 hockey for a good chunk of this season. It's easily attainable for the Kraken, a team that, just speaking about goaltending, they've outscored all of their problems this year, which has been fascinating to watch. I wonder if at some point that dries up. They're getting almost like just enough to get by in terms of goaltending, 895. Both their guys are sub 900 for the season. And as we see Alex Nedeljkovic on waivers today from Detroit, by the way, almost $9 million waived by Steve Yzerman in the last 10 days, that I wonder whether it's Arizona or maybe a team like Seattle. Does Nedeljkovic get claimed today by 2 p.m. Eastern, 12 noon Mountain, or is Seattle one of those teams that could be in the hunt for some goaltending down the stretch? Because it seems right now like that's all they're missing.
And it's interesting because when the Canes walked from Nedeljkovic, he was coming off that Calder caliber season. They took a lot of heat. They didn't want to pay what he thought he was going to get in ARB, if I'm correct. They continue to be smarter than the rest of the world on goaltending. It's short term. It's buy lows. They never seem to go out and apply term and dollars to the position like everyone else.
What I love about Carolina is they're not afraid to say goodbye. And I think that's the biggest issue that NHL front offices, they continue to bang their heads against the wall because they ask themselves all the time, the question is, how do we replace this guy? And instead, the conversation should be revolving around, well, what are our options if we don't re-sign this guy? And too often it's this, they're so afraid they need to get a dog. That's really the spot that a lot of these front offices twist themselves into a mental pretzel about. And instead, they get a decent asset in return for Nedeljkovic, and they have Pyotr Kochetkov sitting there. And some people might argue that what you saw from Nedeljkovic in Carolina, what you've seen from Kochetkov now, and maybe even Anderson and Ranta as they've been on and off the injury list, has just been a really good team that provides time and space for the goaltender to make saves. And maybe part of that comes from their structure and coach Rod Brindamore. But, to this point, Nedeljkovic has played, 90 some career games and has a .901 save percentage. I think there's a decent enough goalie there at age 27 and just a $3 million cap hit that he could be someone that certainly fills a void for your team. But it's an interesting argument to have about Carolina and how they view their different assets, because they seem to be doing it differently than everyone else.
And it wasn't just in net. I mean, Dougie Hamilton, right? That was...
Yeah, I walked from him. You talk about the loyalty thing, yeah.
Just walked from Dougie Hamilton. And I guess you can do that when you look down your depth chart and you've got guys like Jacob Slavin and in net. You got if you know what you have in Kochetkov, then you can say goodbye to Nedeljkovic. But you got to draft well in that case as well. I just wonder if at some point maybe does it burn them, but it sure hasn't to this point.
Well, and even Pacioretty and Burns, like brilliant buy lows. Like, we're not going to get married to our guys. We can replace. We'll go pick on teams that have cap issues, and they've got space. They almost always have cap space. That's another thing they've weaponized. Well,
they have cap space because they're willing to make these difficult decisions and consider what may come next. So take Brent Burns, for instance. They walk from Tony DeAngelo. He comes in last year. They sort of exhume him from the dead, has a great 60-point season, and he's a restricted free agent. So they take a chance on a guy that really had fallen out of favor with New York, was exiled, sent home. They sign him to a cheap 1-year, $1 million contract, squeeze 60 points out of him. And instead of signing him to a long-term deal to keep him, even though he's a fit, they trade him to the Philadelphia Flyers for a second, third, and a fourth round pick, which is a pretty decent return. And then they take the cap space that they would have spent on Tony DeAngelo, and they go out and get Brent Burns, who produced the most shots in the league by a wide margin, and put him on their back end as a way to generate offense in the same way that Tony DeAngelo would. But instead of paying the $8 million plus cap hit that San Jose was, they get him at $5 and change. And then they're able to just kind of keep rotating this cast of characters through that. Maybe you could make the argument that they need more continuity year in and year out. But I love that they keep tinkering with their mix. Like, hey, this year, this part of it worked, this part didn't. Let's try it again with someone different. And so, again, all different ways you can put your team together. But I think when you look at the last 3+ seasons, the Carolina Hurricanes have been the most consistent team in the league.
So what's this nonsense with Erik Karlsson? They'll eat money, but they want 3 first-round picks
and 18%. Like, get
and
out
all
of here.
this. What's happening with Karlsson? Nothing is my guess, but Erik Karlsson, apparently for the right price, available from San Jose.
Well, is 100% available. That much is confirmed. Their GM, Mike Greer, said that to us as reporters at the GM meetings back in November in Toronto. And I don't know why a lot of people viewed that as news then. Like, of course, you have a guy that for the last number of seasons in San Jose was really pedestrian in terms of production, makes $11.5 million, is being the top paid defenseman in the entire league, should be an all-world, well-rounded defenseman, and hasn't been. So is he available? Of course he is. Now, here's where it gets interesting is I know a team that called last week to San Jose and inquired about Karlsson, and this is where the report came from, that they were willing to trade Karlsson in exchange for 3 first-round picks, and they would retain 18%. Why such an oddly specific number? I'm not sure. I think it's somewhere between 18 and 20% that they would retain on. And that specificity of the number is actually what led me to think that this might be accurate. Called around, find out, of course, that it is. And now you see Mike Greer over the weekend say, well, 3 first-round picks is not totally accurate. And I understand where he's coming from because it was an ask. And look, that's always where you start. You shoot for the stars if you can. But in this case, when you say, is anything happening on the Erik Karlsson front, I would say much closer to nothing than something. Because when you go through the list, there's only so few teams that even at $9.4 million can afford to take on Erik Karlsson for this year and the next 4. It's fantastic, the season that he's put together. The numbers and some of the plays have been mind-blowing. He's back to his old self. But what does he look like over these next number of years? What does the fit look like? And we know that he's interested in moving on, but where does he want to go as well? So you're dealing with a limited market and teams that can afford him, and also whatever limitations he might want to put on them as well.
He's making 11.5. And this is year 4 of 8. So there's 4 years after this. If you're a GM of another team and let's say you can move some things around and make some space, what's the number where Erik Karlsson for the next 4 years, you're like, okay, we can do that?
The Sharks, I do not believe, are willing to go anything beyond 20%.
Well, okay. And as you said, you start with your high ask. They got a chance to get out from what's been an incredibly cumbersome contract, and his window doesn't match theirs. So if they're keen on getting assets back, at what price will they start to get a bidding war?
I honestly, because here's the complicating factor for the Sharks, right? The more you eat, the more you're also saddled with for the next 4.5 years. That really then begins to ham whatever they'd like to do up on their cap. So to me, I think there's a real, that's not an ask. I do think there's a real limit as to what San Jose is willing to retain. Here's the other factor to keep in mind that not a lot of people talk about. You're only allowed 3 retained salary transactions on your cap at any one given time. They have Brent Burns on for the next number of years. This would be 2. So that leaves you 1 more for a team that's trying to tear it down to the studs and rebuild it. So that's a tough and precarious spot to be in. I'll tell you this. I don't know what the magic number is. If you get him at half, is someone willing to do it? I talked to a number of teams that said even at half, with the term that's remaining on the deal, I wouldn't give anything up, and I would still say no. I'd say you have to trade him and me not give you anything and eat half. And even then they feel like it would be a discussion.
Yeah. Well, and it's the injury thing too, right? Dino, like he's looked like himself again, but since they went to the semifinals, he hasn't.
He hasn't. And we were talking about him, Frank. The Flames played them back to back in San Jose a few weeks ago. And we came in both mornings. It was like, Carlson's something else, but he would drive you crazy. Retro, as a defensive defenseman, you were gouging your eyeballs out watching this guy. Turnovers and crazy, like just.
Well,
it's one end he's good at.
He would frustrate the shit out of you if he was on your team.
If he's going to put up the points he's putting up and make the plays he's making this year, you can survive it. But I don't know if Daryl Sutter would put up with it, right? Like I don't think it's a fit for this squad, even though he'd be great to have the power play and that. He does as much to piss you off as he does to bring you out of your seats. Like it's kind of hand in hand. It's both things where you're like, wow, we might win because he made an unbelievable offensive play, but we have just as good a chance of losing because he does not care about his own end at all.
Sort of reminds me of, I don't know if you remember him, Rhett, the old coach, Tex Evans. Ray Ferraro makes his NHL debut and came up to him afterwards and said, son, you were a threat at both ends of the ice tonight.
Yeah, that's right.
He's 32, right? And that's the other thing, just final thought. Like what's guaranteed for health at this point and production? Like, I don't know that you want to commit 4 years to a 32-year-old that's had 2 injury-plagued seasons before this one.
You love watching guys cash in or at least come up with a big year in a contract year. Not that you ever doubted that this guy was going to do it. But in this interview, we have applauded Carolina for walking away, knowing when it's too much. What will Boston do with David Pastrnak, who is, again, 33 goals, 59 points in 42 games.
So pace for 60.
No signs of slowing down, and you knew he was going to do it. He's one of the most electrifying guys in the league. It's going to be a massive, massive contract. Can Boston do it? What should they do?
Oh, they can do it, and they're in the process of doing it. I think it's all unfolded a little bit more slowly than everyone involved would have hoped. They haven't traded numbers in a while, but I do know that I think that's heated up a little bit in the last week, especially given the Pavel Zacha signing. That caught a bunch of people off guard. 4 times 4, 7.5. They were like, ooh, that seems like a stiff price to pay. But Boston is getting their ducks in a row, trying to figure out, okay, where do we go next? Thinking that Patrice Bergeron and David Krejci will end up at some point deciding to hang up their skates. So they're in the process. I'd have to think the number with Pastrnak starts with a 12. He's been that good and frankly, that underpaid for so long. And it's an interesting comparable. 6 times 6.6 is what Pastrnak has been playing under for the last number of years. Matt Boldy today signs a 7 times 7 deal with the Minnesota Wild. And Matt Larkin, our guy at Daily Faceoff, just wrote this story today comparing Matt Boldy, saying he is the next David Pastrnak in terms of that real bargain value contract. Boldy's probably already close to $7 million in value right now. What does he look like at some point 3 years down the line? Could be a really nice contract to help set up the Wild, who have their own cap issues.
And this cap's about to explode again, whether it's this summer or the summer after. Like I think we'll be 90, 95, 100 pretty quick, Frank. Is that fair based on what you're hearing about league revenues?
Yeah, I do believe it's going up by $3.5 million this year in some kind of negotiation with the PA. And I think, in real short order, you're dealing with a $95 million cap 2-3 years from now. That's a huge jump from where we're at. That again, makes $7 million for Boldy seem kind of reasonable.
What else are you keeping an eye on? I mean, we're a week and a half, 2 weeks away from the All-Star break. March 3rd gets us to the trade deadline. It still feels like so far away, but I guess what we'll see is maybe around the All-Star break. This is when teams start having their meetings. Let's have our amateur scouting meetings and all that, getting their handle on their guys, and then start to look around the league. Anything to keep an eye on? League-wide news?
Yeah, I think the big thing I'm chasing today is what's going on with Bruce Boudreau and the Vancouver Canucks, as he has been hung out to dry and waggling on the line for the last number of months. Just theater of the bizarre in Vancouver. And you heard the report on Saturday from Elliot Friedman saying if they make a coaching change, or frankly when, that Rick Tocchet will be the guy. There's definitely something up between Tocchet and the Canucks. I think they've had a number of conversations going back weeks now, that I think this has all leaked out to the point where they wanted to wait, I think, until All-Star break or the bye week in order to make changes like this, and frankly may not have a choice given the information that's been out there and floating around about Bruce Boudreau and his job security, which just, again, wacky. Like, since when has it been openly speculated? Not just this guy is losing his job, but we already know who the next guy is and have for a while now. That I've covered this league a long time now. I don't remember ever seeing anything like this quite play out.
Is it the Canucks' fault, though, that it's out there? If they're not happy with how the team's performing and they're thinking of making a coaching change, sorry, Rhett, and then it gets out that they're looking at the next guy. He's under contract. They are paying him. I don't know. I get it, but I also wonder what else is Vancouver supposed to do?
Then cut the cord. Like what? Like how hard is this? If you're going to end up paying the guy anyway, what's the difference?
You don't embarrass him. That's the difference.
Well, unless Tocchet can't just yet, or unless there are circumstances that you don't know,
then you keep it quiet, right? Out of respect for the guy.
That was my question. Is this a disrespectful type of thing that's going on? Like,
100%.
Feels like it to me. Yeah.
It's been for months now. Like, people have been openly speculating, not if, when. And it's like, it's been this sort of game of chicken, it feels like. Is Bruce Boudreau just going to come in and quit because he's had enough? That's what they'd want him to do, I think. But he's like, no, you got to pay me. And that's what I think has sort of been the push and pull behind the scenes of, like, there's no love lost. The president of Hockey Ops was out there a couple weeks in on After Hours saying how unstructured and undisciplined this team is, and he knew it right from training camp. Well, then, like, what are you waiting for? Make the change. Just there's only one right way to treat people, and that's it.
But how can it be Bruce, there it is chance a year ago? I mean, that's just the fans to these guys saying it's completely unstructured and just terrible and awful, and this guy doesn't know what he's like. He hasn't been there that long, has he? Like, I don't understand how this plays out. Or plays.
I think it speaks to how dysfunctional it is, right?
Yeah, who's dysfunctional?
It's the owner down.
It starts at the top with ownership, and then it festers from there. It gets worse and worse. Everyone knows shit runs downhill. And you have a coach that came in last year, 659 hockey is what they played. I don't think anyone is doubting that Bruce Boudreau is a good coach, but you also have to remember the timeline of how this all unfolded. Bruce Boudreau was hired before Jim Rutherford, before Patrick Allvin, and he was hired directly by the owner. And so when you have this play out, a GM and president of Hockey Ops that inherit a coach, it feels like it never works out.
And from the top down, like, it's okay. With questions about the owner, including like his own children accusing him of behavior that's not appropriate. You have an AGM that's now not with the club, that is engaged legally with the club. There's a question of whether it's Jim Rutherford or Patrick Allvin that's making decisions. Why did it take so long for a vote of confidence for Bruce Boudreau? Their captain's a free agent and seems to be on his way out. They committed to JT Miller, who doesn't seem to be getting along with Elias Pettersson, who, oh, by the way, is out of a contract soon. This is the most dysfunctional organization in hockey right now.
You didn't even throw in the Tanner Pearson injury in the investigation that they've launched internally, which is he's had 3 surgeries, needs 1 or 2 more. And they're like, well, hold on a second. We were unaware of there being issues. Like, how, what? So that's right now, actually, is when the press conference is supposed to be starting between the Canucks, Jim Rutherford explaining this Tanner Pearson internal review. And I'm like, is this going to be anything more than the old Spider-Man meme where, like, everyone's just pointing at each other? Like, what are we doing here if that's your internal review?
See, Frank, I don't like you doing this because Pinder goes off on a daily basis. Like, you can sit your fucking watch to it on the Canucks and how dysfunctional they are and the ownership and this and that. And then
it's bad, man.
Now you're adding to it. So thanks for screwing up my week. Appreciate that.
Hey,
I got to
showed
sit
up
next
dressed
this year.
like you showed up dressed like Johnny Canuck today, so it's all your fault.
Yeah, I guess that's what it is. Yeah. Okay, now listen, before we let you go, we're a couple weeks out from the Jasper Pond hockey event. You're coming out for it. Pinder has absolutely taken on the role of general manager for the Flames Nation crew. He has brought in players. He had a
warm-up tournament this weekend.
Literally had people on the ice this weekend training and getting ready for
tryouts.
I am going to try and be the Don Meehan here. Somewhere between I want the groups to come together. You don't want to play with the Oilers Nation guys. I know you don't. I know you want to play with us. You know what they are. You know what we are. Pinder has brought in some good players. He is in this to win. We are going to be more fun. We are going to act more like adults. We want you on board. What do we have to do to make this happen?
I was going to say, well, what's in it for me?
This is what. How
great
do we
team
get
guy, Frank.
Here?
That's why we want you so much. Great team guy.
We're doing.
It's a sign and trade. The Oilers got you. They're moving it to Flames Nation. This is how it's going to go. What do we have to give to Oilers Nation to make this happen?
Here's what was alarming about your spiel: is you said we act more like adults, and I was like, oh, I don't want to do that. I'm going to Jasper for the weekend without my family. Why would I want to do that?
No, we said more like adults. So like if we're acting like 12-year-olds, they're acting like 11-year-olds. That's probably the better reference point. Like, did you see these Lugans on their trip to Vegas? Like, goodness.
They're like puking into each other's mouths. Like it's come on. We know where you want to be. We're doing the hot stove on the Friday. We're going to be into the sauce. We're going to have a great time.
I could be recruited. Just you said you're the agent.
I don't know what. Here's the thing. I don't know what happened. My understanding was you were coming with me. You were flying to Calgary. We were driving up together. You were playing with us, and then all of a sudden, you were on the Oilers Nation side. I don't know what happened.
Feels like there's some tampering here. I got to be honest.
I'll tell you what. There is something interesting brewing in that the Oilers Nation guys are all bringing their ladies to Jasper. That feels like bring sand to the beach moment. That really just
it's not a couples weekend, Frank. You're not gonna
getting your toenails done
weekend for you, buddy.
Spa weekend.
Yeah.
This is not a spa weekend. This is a boys weekend. I don't know. See, that really makes me question their intentions as to this weekend.
I like it. There's at least some doubt. The seed of doubt has been planted. I like that.
Wedged it open just a little bit. We got a couple weeks to get this figured out. Have a great time in Chicago there, Frank. Stay out of the fireball. We'll talk to you next week.
See you guys.
You betcha. Frank Seravalli, Daily Faceoff, our NHL insider. We got a lot in there.
Yeah,
totally. See, I just don't. God, you are hard enough on the Canucks and their fans at the best of times, and then you got him feeding your fire. It doesn't it does not seem great.
I think, Pinder, you need to take this upon yourself and have a daily update on all issues Canuck, right? Because Frank, you laid out a whole bunch, and then Frank added to it. Like there's a long list of BS that these guys are dealing with. I think you need to help them out.
It was like Ottawa there for a while. They had so many things. The coach was let go for wrongdoings.
The owner passed away. I felt guilty about dumping on him then.
The Uber driver had video of Duchesne yipping the coach, and it was the
rebuild's really over. Pierre Dorion makes hockey decisions.
Like, it's not to that level where it was.
I think it's probably close. I think if you had to do a power rankings of inept and handsy, screw it up ownership, I don't know who's worse than Aquavelva right now.
We just need Kuzmenko or somebody.
Well, he's a U, so they're going to lose him. He's a U, and he wants too much money. They've capped themselves out on bad players, and OEL's in the press box at 7 and change. And Arizona's eating money on that deal.
So happy.
For 5 years, they got on that thing. So what are you doing? You were 1 year away from getting rid of all that bad money.
I'm so happy. And if, at the same time, I like him being happy. I like people to be happy. It's better when he's in a good mood.
Oh, you know what? We're really happy about.
Yeah.
Mandeep is going to be a weapon in this 3-on-3 tournament. I am telling you. Weapon.
Yeah.
The hands, special. Very special.
I saw a video going back, I think it's on his Instagram, where he kind of does almost like the Forsberg.
It's just in traffic. It's all around and moving, and he doesn't have to look at it.
I can't wait to
just not
sit
fair.
on the sidelines and watch it.
Yeah, well, I think if once we get a big lead, we'll rest you for our next game, and Mandeep can pile up points.
Right? Yeah, okay. There you have it. Jasper, we may as well get that in for you. We've been talking about it. Jasper Pond Hockey, it is coming up next weekend.
Man, that's quick.
27th to 29th. Basically right now, when you talk about travel Jasper, jasper.travel/January. I was on there this morning, and just some of the things that you can do up in Jasper, it's people kind of travel the globe for these kind of once in a lifetime
bucket list.
Truly, it is. I was going to ask Rhett if he had to, because we can put you in a helicopter. You can go and look at the ice fields. You can do a wildlife tour by train, go on a sleigh ride, some dog sledding, hike inside of a glacier, some snowshoeing, fat bike riding, downhill skiing at Marmot Basin. Huh?
That's what I'd be doing.
Which one?
Swooshing and swooshing and downhilling.
Yeah, you're swooshing.
Alpining.
You ever done a dog sled?
I have.
I had a buddy go out to this weekend. They do it in Canmore. It's supposed to be great.
Yep.
So you've done it?
Yep.
Because you love dogs.
I'm a big dog. I love them.
You do love dogs.
Fucking red. Unbelievable. Hey, what's one of these Huskies run? What do you think, Shoveler? We got one of these? A week later, no, I don't like them. Shit in the house.
Yeah, do you have anybody in Buffalo that's like you drop the dog off at their house?
Yeah. Which sucker do you plant your pet on in Buffalo?
There is a whole bunch of stuff planned, and this is back serious for a moment. Jasper.travel/January. The whole the community has come together and put on a whole bunch of things. You can see throughout from now until the 29th. It's on a daily basis. There's things to see, to do, eat, accommodations, shopping, you name it. There are specials and discounts and all kinds of things going on. I invite you to travel out to Jasper. Come with us. And if you want to be part of the pond hockey, chehockey.com for more information. Register your team today.
You said you went to the website. I thought you were reading the rules and regulations about roster size.
No, I was not doing any of that.
Okay. Well, I got that part. You get the rest.
Figure it's been nice. I've kind of been able to just let you handle that.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. Works well. Good leaders delegate, right?
I guess that's what it
that's
is.
you.
Yeah. Flames and Predators tonight. The Nashville Predators, I kind of forgot all about it. They've already played once this year.
Okay.
Mark Jankowski.
Oh, God. And it was a game time call-up. We didn't have time to cash in on the former Flame scoring against his old team first game back.
Yeah, Jankowski, I looked this morning. He's kind of been there.
He's not in the lineup right now, though.
He hasn't played in the last couple, but
that's
prior
what
to that,
we're focusing on is Jankowski.
The big Jankowski.
It was just one of those things that jogged my memory. Oh, of course. Yeah, Jankowski came back. They were not very good, the Flames, that night. It was a 4-1 loss. Empty netter made it 4-1. Shots were 14-4 early in the second for the Predators. It was 2-0 when Forsberg scored. They finally got it turned up, but it was another bad start and slow and sluggish. So let's hope for something a little better tonight.
Isn't that what the Flames are kind of turning into? Like, honestly, I'm watching that game on Saturday. We were really busy, so I watched, and then they got up big, and I'm like, I did shut it off, and I had no idea that Dallas almost came back. But it plays to the whole point I'm trying to make is that that's what the Flames are. Like, some way, somehow, they're getting these points, but they find a way to make it bloody ugly, right? Like, it's never.
Yeah. But what was different?
We went in. Yeah. We got up 3-1, and we shut the door, and we won 3-1, or we scored an empty net, and it was 4-1. Whatever. It's never just a smooth ride. Yeah, we played good. We got control of this, and we'll get the victory. You never feel comfortable good for the show. With it.
Yeah, like we talked about it when they're 5-1. You're like, this team's too boring. We can't even talk about them. Like, we'll check in April. They're not boring now.
About the game on Saturday that I thought was the first because they got in there. They're on a road trip. It's Dallas, top team in their division, I think, at that point.
Yeah.
They went in, and it was both of the first two goals, score early, both off of forechecks and turnovers.
That line again.
Remember last year, that was kind of the calling card for this team.
Yeah.
They're going to be physical. Remember those games against Minnesota, kind of at the three-quarter and maybe not quite three-quarter pole, where it was Dean Everson was pissed off at his team, and this is tough, and Goodbranson and Zadora. We're a long ways away from that. So I thought that at least on Saturday, there was a bit of that back. The the back line has been really good.
Phenomenal. And honestly, like we forget about it. They added Toffoli, and that kind of, they didn't really know where to put him. And that broke up that line last year that was so good. And they weren't reunited until the Dallas series.
You said it last week on both shows, Retro. Give these guys more ice time. And yeah, the answer is give those guys more ice time. If we want to ride the goalie that's playing well, ride the line that's playing well, because neither the either top lines, if you want to call it that, deserve to be playing just by default.
Yeah, they're fine, but they're not dominating like the Backlund line is. Like, it's their best line. You can call it their third line, but we talked about it in Afterburner last week, Rhett. You trust them. You can use them in all situations. And frankly, they're pretty damn consistent. They're hard on the walls. They win puck battles. They're a pain in the ass to play against.
How much time are they getting, though? I don't even know. I don't get.
I think they're probably pretty even. The line's the top three lines for minutes, I would guess. But like,
maybe
if they want to lead this team in ice time, I'm fine with that.
Is there any? We've questioned a lot of Daryl's moves this year, even though. And my question to you guys is, maybe he's better at this than we're giving him credit for. You know,
well, we thought the Lucic thing would last 10 minutes, right, on that second line. Like, by the second period, they'll have someone with skill back with Kadri and Huberdeau. But that's been, what, 2-3 weeks?
Oh, yeah. You know, and that's just it. It's like we may not like or agree with a lot of things he does, but he has a way of making it work out. And I don't know if it's a brilliance or a coincidence or whatever, but they're getting points, this team, and it looks ugly, and you're frustrated by them. You watch the game, you feel guilty coming on this show here, and you S-talk them because it doesn't look good, yet, climbing in the standings, winning, getting points on the road, all the things it's working. Don't want to use Vladar too much, don't want to use Markstrom too much. They're both getting used. Like, I don't know. Maybe there's some method to this.
Well, so it's like, okay, is this a mediocre team that Daryl's just like geniusly mind gaming them into points, or is this a really good team that could be better if he wasn't
holding back,
putting his two big forward acquisitions with a fourth line plumber for 3 weeks?
Is anyone curious?
Do you seem to know what it is, or like?
No, I'm just wondering. The one thing that we haven't, because when it was Monahan and Gaudreau for a while, it's what about Lindholm? What about Tkachuk? Get Johnny away from Monahan. Is there a curiosity among the fan base online, wherever, when you go to the rinks, like, God, when are they going to put Lindholm and Huberdeau together and see what that is?
I don't think that's it right now. I think it's when are they going to get Lucic off Huberdeau's line, because it's like Lucic has looked better, but has Huberdeau looked like a star there? No. Has Kadri looked good? He's looked okay. But I just wonder, if you put someone with skill and pace there, can you see those two really start to light up offensively? Because you didn't bring Huberdeau in to be a second-line checking winger. You brought him in to put up points. The guy on the opposite wing is not helping him get points. Yes, Lucic has looked better, but it's come at the expense of putting a skilled player next to Huberdeau on the other side of the line. That's the big one.
Yeah, I don't disagree.
It's awkward. Yeah. It's what it is. It's very awkward. No. The whole league looks at that and goes, what's with this line they've got thrown together here? This isn't what you'd imagine.
Pelche's right there. Pelche's right there. He's right there.
Is Pelche still there?
I don't see it happening, Pinder. I'm not against it.
I know. I don't either. That's the frustrating part, right? Is that he's not even going to try, maybe.
Well, and but it's frustrating for us because we want to see it, but that's the point I'm getting. Maybe Daryl's smarter. He's like,
he might be right.
You guys might want to see it, but I want to make the playoffs and win in the playoffs, and that's my concern.
Yeah, I'm frustrated that he won't even try and be like, see, it didn't work. He's just like, well, I know that's not going to work.
He can't piss away points.
Your GM agrees with that, but okay. The guy that drafted him probably thinks highly of him. Would like to see him in the league, considering the rest of the draft class that's anywhere near his production's already played a ton.
100%, but you can't even argue it right now because the buggers are putting up points. Like,
they're 2-0-2 on this road trip.
They've got 6 of a possible 8 points thus far, and we shit all over them after those games in Chicago and St. Louis, and rightfully so. And if they win against a mediocre Nashville team tonight with their best or second best goalie, they'll come home with 8 of 10.
Yeah.
That's an incredible road trip, given how at times bad they've looked.
But it's an incredible road trip because you pissed away points in St. Louis and Chicago. That's why
you should be coming home at 10 is probably why it's like, and look, they might be awful tonight and it's only 6 of 10, but like they have a chance to really feel like we'll pull off a bit of a heist here on this roadie.
What do we know about this? I mean, this matchup right now. Well, I know you'll get into it in the Pinder report as far as lines and that.
Yep.
4-0-1 are the Predators in their last 5 against Calgary. It was Kevin Lankinen in net. The game back on November 3rd here at the Dome, that 4-1 win. But
Saros is rounded into form too after a bit of an okay start. He had that 64 save effort followed by a shutout last week. Look out.
6-1-1 in his against Calgary, a .918 save percentage. So yeah, Saros is their guy, will be their guy. Rinse, repeat kind of thing.
Yeah.
Coming up, well, I don't want to say that. I can't do spoiler. And I don't even know if I'm supposed to. But I want to talk to you about Montana's.
When do we get to break the news here? Because you've been saying you got some inside info.
Tomorrow's a big day, Ryan, but I can't say anything about it.
Okay.
Look at that. Yeah, Montana's Barbecue and Bar. Why not go out and watch the game? 6 o'clock today. So what are we making for dinner? What are we doing? Oh,
it's a lot of stress you don't need in your life.
Montanas.ca, find the nearest location to you. Go and check things out. What is today? Well, let me tell you. Today, Monday, half-price wings. Delicious.
Those look saucy. I like that.
Well, and all of it's, all the smoke and all the everything, it's done in-house. This isn't some sort of
this is a rinky-janky
This is
shop,
no rinky-dink place, Pinder. You're right. The daily deals are rolling out. Mondays, it's half-price wings. Masters of the barbecue, masters of comfort food, fire-grilled, smoked in-house, sauced up, brought to your table the way you like it. Come as you are and stay. Enjoy yourself, maybe a nice ice-cold brew, and enjoy your friends. Enjoy your buddies over at Montana's Barbecue and Bar. Your buddies. Your barbecue buddies.
Are we buds? Could we be barbecue buds?
We could be barbecue buddies. That's right. Yeah, for sure. Montana's. Get your barbecue on. Time for the Pinder report.
Canada's home for barbecue.
That's it's something.
On the screen.
Barbecue them if you got them, buddies. Time for the Pinder report, a presentation of Village Honda. Village Honda wants to buy your car, sell it to them, and get paid in 24 hours. No hassle.
Ooh.
Just dough in 24 hours. Get your no obligation appraisal today in the Northwest Auto Mall, online, villagehonda.com. It's time for the Pinder report.
Anthony's all fired up. He knows what's happening.
Does he?
He will see us this week, and we will see him.
Nice.
Gonna be fun. Love
Good
it.
stuff.
Okay, where do we start? Calgary Flames. It's a road trip finale, boys. You knew that. We know that. Here's where we're at. First off, Eric Francis, a tweet regarding, it's Dan Vladar.
His golf game
playing really well.
A free driver he's received in the mail.
Eric Francis deciding to elect to come on the Chicago-Nashville road trip.
Yeah,
it's a good choice.
All
there
right.
it is, 7-0-3. We mentioned it with Frank, his last regulation loss, October 26th. Back when we thought we'd have Rhett for a Christmas party.
Right, yeah.
That's a while ago.
I'll come out once a month.
And the quote from Sutter, if you missed his post game, was, "It gets Markey ready for the next stretch of games," which was asking about, Dan Vladar's appearance on Saturday, a win against Dallas, and maybe that he's got multiple options. And no. This was about getting Markey ready for the next stretch. So I would expect Markstrom net tonight. We'll see how he looks. I don't know what to expect. I feel like I have a better idea of what Dan Vladar looks like ahead of his starts than Markstrom's.
It's another one of those things where I feel like this is as much for Markstrom to hear as it is for Vladar to hear. Don't get comfortable, Mr. Backup goalie, 7-0-3.
This is a long game.
I saw what you just did today.
I'm not forgetting that third period.
It's just getting the other guy ready.
Yeah.
He won't, right?
Well, Frank had seen it. People around this city noticed it. Like, I don't think we're surprised at all if Markstrom starts. And if you had asked before Sutter's presser, you'd be like, oh, Vladar's probably going to start. So I think he's made it clear.
I never heard Sutter's presser, so I did.
Okay, here we go.
Yeah, I assume Vladar's play gives you more options when you're making your daily decisions on goalie starters?
Middle of the stretch, it's pretty clear who's going to play today. Afternoon game. Get Markey ready for the next stretch of games.
It's beautiful. It's art.
What the hell, Rhett? What do you mean?
What do you mean?
Talking
Obviously,
it's pretty
it's
clear.
Middle of the stretch. Whatever that means.
Sure
It's an afternoon or Rhett.
Now, perhaps even because they play Nashville and then they come home, and the stretch of games includes Colorado and then Tampa Bay on the weekend.
Yep.
So, I mean, Colorado, I guess.
And you got the Johnny Revenge game, and then Chicago, Seattle, and you're in All-Star break. 5 to go.
But the Tampa game, that's still, you're talking in some ways about the class of the league. You beat Tampa, you've beat a champion.
Yeah. We'll see. Here's the lines. Not a lot of movement in the way of changing. We have seen Walker Duehr play well on that fourth line, and Zahorna was returned to the Wranglers, so there's only one spare forward right now. That's Jacob Pelche. Darren Haynes noting that Flames have been pretty damn good since an ugly loss to St. Louis at home. Booed off the ice. This was maybe their worst game of the year. The Buffalo one I was not at, but I was at the St. Louis one. It was despicable, and they were indeed booed. Lindholm, a look in the mirror quote after the game. Since then, 8-2-3, third best record in the NHL. I not feel like it at times, but they are kind of on a heater here.
Do we do this show every day, or have we been away for a week?
Did we miss like a 6-game winning streak somewhere? No, it's just wins that are ugly and OTLs. They're stringing them together.
Lone leads, lost to the last place tag.
Yeah, I know. It's weird. You had noticed something this morning that I also had catch my eye this morning. Let's have a look at the old Nashville lines. There's some familiar faces and some young guys down the lineup. And then also, who the fuck is centering their first line?
Well, Ryan, that's Juuso Parssinen.
Juuso, pardon who?
Seventh rounder.
Okay, 13 goals. All right.
Taken 210 overall, the last round in 2019.
I was like, yeah, he must be a high pick of theirs, Dean. He's probably a seventh rounder.
Don't they always seem to get one guy? It feels like every few years
they
always
get
some
a fin too.
Seventh rounder that gets in.
Yeah. So I don't know.
He's got 8 points in his last 6 games. He's got a 6-game point streak. He is the hottest Predator forward coming into this game tonight. And we've just jinxed it. Congrats on your hat trick, Parssinen, you prick.
Yeah. Well, once they hook Markkanen or Markstrom and they get Vladar in, they'll settle down, right? Let's go to some other notes around the NHL. First off, sad to hear on the weekend of the passing of Gino Ojek, who was a larger-than-life icon, especially amongst the Canucks fans, fan base, organization, one of the toughest SOBs. And it was neat to see Tim Hunter, of all people, throw him a shout-out on Twitter. We love seeing Tim around town, and another iconic tough guy. And he had this to say: my roommate while in Vancouver, one hell of a teammate. Canucks fans lost a great one. Some picks here from my last couple visits. Iconic, and maybe one of those, like, not best of all time players, certainly, because he was not that a skill guy. He was a tough guy, but one of the most iconic Canucks of all time, you could argue.
I don't disagree at all. I think that's the thing about hockey markets and hockey cities. It's in Buffalo, they love Rob Ray, and here it's guys like Tim Hunter, and in Vancouver, that was the guy. If you were going into Vancouver during that stretch of times,
look out. If
you took a run at somebody, you were gonna drop them with Gino Ojek.
Look at that. That's Hunter and Ojek jumping the boards at the same time.
Who else is with him?
I can't zoom in and see, but it's if he's the third toughest guy on the team and he's got those two, he's doing okay.
Yeah, whoever you are. Congrats.
Okay, from there, happy Martin Luther King Day. We got matinee action. If you're ready to set your fantasy lineup, it's too late. They've already started games. We're half an hour into hockey today. Here's a look at the matinees in the NHL today, as there's a bunch, and one that I think you'd love, Retro. Panteros and Sabres, 2-year-old teams, head-to-head in Buffalo, and two teams kind of in that bubble spot in the East, trying to crack into one of those wild cards. That feels like a big one. Huh.
Come on, Sabres.
Half the families there cheering on their favorite team. Half are cheering for Buffalo, half are cheering for Florida.
You're torn, eh?
The boys are torn. Yeah.
Winnipeg is, if you missed it on the weekend, they moved into first in the West. Can you see this? Good? Is that like first in the West? First in the West. How did they do it? Well, there's 2 prime candidates. It's the coach and the defenseman. There's your points percentage there, showing them better than Vegas. Let's start with the defenseman. Josh Norrisy is, we've very, very, how witty is that? Whoever came up with that.
Really
they must have spent weeks and ripped through thesauruses, and there it was the whole time. Third fastest to 40 assists, not amongst defensemen, among any Jet/Thrashers of all time. Like, it's Mark Savard and Blake Wheeler there in their primes. That was incredible. The Calgarian, Dino. having a monster season.
He's a sweet boy.
He's a great kid. And I think this guy's got, you could change that letter on his jersey for next year if you want. He's been sensational. And I think the few interactions I've had with him involving one of his charitable campaigns in the city, like this is a kid way more mature than his birth certificate would suggest.
Pierre-Luc Dubois is playing some of the best hockey he's played. They got Nikolai Ehlers back. He's got 9 points in his last 5 games. And as we saw, the goalie's pretty good.
How about the coach?
I don't know what to make of the coach. I really just felt like he was in there to keep the seat warm for somebody. But
here's his quote on the team, not talking about how good he is. He said, travels, injuries, illnesses, all his players deserve credit. It's meaningful, even at game 44. First in the West. How about those Jets? And again, Rhett, this doesn't look good on Paul Maurice.
It doesn't look good on Paul Maurice. Not.
At least Florida's running away with the East, right?
Yes. I mean, you step into a first place team, you just can continue where they left off. Just let them go. All right. Like
Brunette
don't
did.
make
Let the horses run. Yeah. Don't have to reinvent the
when
wheel.
Bill leaves, he comes in. Just don't miss a beat.
What a weekend of football we had. Super wild card weekend, boys. We'll start in chronological order through the weekend with how about a rookie quarterback having fun? This was Seattle, San Francisco, your Saturday afternoon tilt. If you like the Niners, you weren't alone. If you were worried about the Niners, it was probably the rookie quarterback. He was not an issue. 4 touchdowns. First time ever a rookie quarterback's done that in the postseason. Good on him. Looks comfy. Don't look like a rookie.
He doesn't look like
it was tight at halftime. What do you mean?
Did you see the second half was explosive. Did you see him walking into the stadium?
Yeah.
He had like a K-way on and a backpack. It was like, day one in college. Hi, Dad.
Yeah, he needed his ID card to get in. They
Totally.
were just letting him go. Kittle, okay, yeah, head through. Oh, Debo, yeah, you're good to go. Who's this punk?
Yeah. So the 2 seed in the NFC is through. They will host a game next week. The next action was the San Diego/LA Collapsers, as the Chargers had certainly the most chargery game of all time. 27-0. They ran 8 rushing plays after that. And so immediately the question is, when can we fire this coach? Which I have mixed feelings on, because he's made some idiotic decisions, but also he seems like a nice guy that they like. Can we? No, you can't have both those things coexisting, can we?
Oh my.
Anyway, here's a bad bet if you like it. They're up 27-0. Some fat cat thinks I'm going to make an extra $12,000 just like that. Puts down $1.4 million to try to make $11,000. Lost it instead.
Ooh.
So if he's still alive, condolences.
Like, that's a coward bet, right?
That's the biggest coward bet, and it's huge money. It's like, that is so bad. What do you need an extra $12,000 for if you can actually, or $11,000 for if you have $1.4 million to gamble?
Yeah. If you're out watching the game, that's probably your bar tab.
Oh,
what are you doing?
Like, that stings. That is absolutely awful. Hurts.
I mean, you'd love to be there, though, if it was one of your buddies. You'd be like, oh, yeah, do it, dude. Okay, let's see maybe if they can.
How quickly would you be out of there? It's
just
like
fist pumping under
and
the table.
The kick is up, out the door. Just leave. Dude, oh, wow. Here's a nice angle of the Buffalo Bills narrowly escaping a third-string quarterback-led Miami Dolphins. This is weird, Rhett. They're winning. It ain't pretty, but they're winning.
They're the Flames.
I love this angle, and it's kind of similar, I guess. Watch the angle on this if you just don't think these guys are incredibly talented. It's just like, yeah, I'm just going to throw it way down there. Right in a bucket. Are we nervous, Rhett? They did it, but it won't pretty.
I was nervous, and I'm shit scared of the next weekend. That's the problem. They got through this, but all the stupid things that they've done all year that end up hurting them, they did it again yesterday. The play calling, can't run the ball, you're up.
I love your quarterback,
Josh Allen. Like,
he's turned over the ball more than any other quarterback in football.
He has, but there was,
and I think he's good.
Yes. What do you get? 350 passing yards like that? I don't know.
The troubling part is that they couldn't seem to. The only way to get first downs was him heaving it way downfield. And that's a dangerous game to play, right? Because those can turn into turnovers, or if you get any sort of weather, that's not a fun or smart game. if you have to throw outside in Buffalo 30 plus yards to get first downs, like this is a dangerous game you're playing. I'd like to see them run the ball better.
And the team they're going to play,
who
I know you'll talk about, they could have banana peeled yesterday too.
It's true. There was a few. We'll get there in a moment. That was the morning game on Sunday. The midday game was Giants at Minnesota. And I love this. The Minnesota social media team thinks they're really sharp, eh? Like, ooh, we're going to send out a big zinger before the game. They say New York's favorite football team because they beat the Jets this year. They beat the Giants this year. They beat the Bills this year. So all three New York State teams, hey, look at us. We're New York's favorite team. That's before the game. Giants after the game. Skol, capital L. And then the Giants media team said, yeah, we can make a fake movie posters too. The Empire State Strikes Back. There it is. Love it.
Vikings, man. Every time
it's a big game, Vikings. How you couldn't have bet on Kirk
typical
Cousins,
Vikings there, yeah.
Jeez, I just think of all the guys who have cheered for that team their whole life. Guys like Arash and Lou and guys back.
Friedman. Yeah.
Gross.
Brother-in-law.
Man.
Tough times. Okay, so then we go to the night game. It was Cincinnati and Baltimore, an AFC North thumper, as you might expect. How about Cincinnati, born and bred Bengal, Hubbard with the play of the game? This was incredible. A 14-point swing as he went 98 yards on that play on the goal line. Do we have the video of that or not?
Couldn't believe it, right? And because this is in a way, this is the whole football game.
100% it is, yeah. If they get in from the 2-yard line, they're up by 7, and instead they're down by 7, like 10 seconds later. And they got away with a block in the back on Andrews too.
Oh, did they? Yeah,
big time. And so how did the fans react to this in Cincinnati? Well, many of them were in the stadium. You saw that. We go live to the Cincinnati Sports Bar as this was happening. Live's the wrong word. So everyone's watching here. 98 yards. And this somber mood turns into jubilation. I love this shit. I don't know why. People grabbing each other, hugging strangers.
But it was one of those, because all you're thinking if you're a Bengals fan is that they're going to get it in here. That's okay. So then 7, how much time is left?
Yeah.
You're already processing being down by a touchdown.
Totally.
And then
you're up by a touchdown. I thought at the end here, this guy climbs on his chair and is standing up. Like that'll be the play of the playoffs. And wild card weekend, it never disappoints. There's always some sort of magical play we'll remember forever. Was it the Minnesota Miracle? Was another one we had wild card weekend a few years ago.
Aliens must look down at us and just think these people are so stupid.
Morons. Yeah.
I was at the game yesterday, and it's funny because you're high-fiving everyone in the stands.
On the chair.
You're hugging. You're pumped, but you think that every play they make is directly for your benefit, good and bad, right? Like they screwed it up. They're screwing it up for me. They've screwed it up for me.
These losers.
Every play they make, it's like, thank you. You did that because I needed it. Yeah, you're doing it for you. Like
I needed that.
Yeah, thank you.
These are my boys.
Yeah. God, I needed that.
Tonight, it's Tampa, Dallas, a Monday nighter to close Super Wildcard weekend. It's Tom Brady against America's team. It won't be boring. I believe the line's still 2.5 favoring the road Cowboys.
Come on, let's go Cowboys. Let's just put this Brady thing. He's the best ever. Just go away, Tom.
Go back to your 26-year-old Instagram model and let the Cowboys play the next round. Take a weekend off or an off-season off, Tommy. Either way, it's like two of the greater villains of our time, the Cowboys and all they embody, and Tom Brady, that stupid winner that, was deflating balls and hanging out with Supermodel. We're just jealous, but either way, one of them's done after tonight. I can live with that.
Retro, quick aside. You and I on Afterburner tonight. How are we navigating this split screen double watch event?
I had no idea that I was on Afterburner tonight, so I'm looking forward to it. It's good.
Yeah.
Again, his phone just doesn't look
get
at it.
Email,
it's all there, but he doesn't want to. And finally, man, there's some deals out around Calgary. I don't know. Do you ever go vintage shopping,
Love
Dino?
it. Yeah, I sure do.
And it's like, wow, like I can't believe this is like some priceless stuff.
Yeah.
Think about this framed piece of Flames merchandise with all these young superstars. There's Johnny on the left. You got Sean Monahan second to the left, Sam Bennett second to the right, and then Matthew Tkachuk. I mean, that they could probably build around that core for 15 years.
That's going to be a great core. Really good.
Weird it's at the store, not hanging somewhere, hey? What was the price tag? $2? People wanted to tear this thing down and rebuild the core. I don't know that it went the way they wanted necessarily, but it has been done. That's your Pinder report.
Hey, Ryan, none of those guys play for the Flames
Is
anymore.
that right, Dean? I'm pretty sure they're all franchise pillars. What are you talking about?
No,
It's almost, but it is almost effing sad that isn't
totally
your
sad.
core, because Bennett didn't pan out. He's played way better in Florida, better than I ever imagined. I
But
still
still
think
not a
he's
star.
Exactly. I still don't think he's what we envisioned as a potential number one overall pick. Tkachuk's doing exactly what Tkachuk's supposed to do. Gaudreau was better than you ever imagined when you drafted him. And Monahan, for the first part of his career, was
7, 8
clutch.
years.
Like he was dialed in. Is exactly what you thought. And to have those four turn out the way they were supposed to, you should have been, this franchise should be in cruise mode right now. Like,
never mind if you could have signed Adam Fox, who looks like the best young defenseman. You can have a dynasty here. All you need is a veteran defenseman to win the Norris at age 35 or something to seal it, and make sure you don't lose him for nothing, right?
My goodness. It's wild. It's not almost sad. It is sad.
All right, so that's the Pinder report for Village Honda, Dean. See you there this week.
Get ready for the all-new 2023 Honda Accord. This all-new generation, redefined sophistication, sleek styling, and available features like Google built-in and a spirited hybrid powertrain. It's totally sad.
Yeah. You could build around the CRV a bit better than these guys.
Yeah, I don't know what.
It's a Honda Accord, but yeah.
It's a core player. That too. Sorry, the CRV's later this weekend.
We can't wait. Expected later this month, Village Honda in the Northwest Auto Mall. Visit them online for more details, villagehonda.com. If even one of them, but here's the thing. Like you say, the Tkachuk pick, it's not a bad pick. You made the right pick.
It's a great pick. Wasn't it Puljujarvi that went ahead of him?
Great pick. Yes.
And wasn't Olli Juolevi ahead of him?
And the Monahan pick for a long time was the right pick.
He led that class in scoring more than McKinnon like 3 seasons ago.
The Johnny pick's a fantastic pick.
Best in franchise history, you could argue.
I mean, Bennett, if Bennett was,
but Bennett, if he
Leon.
played the way he's even playing, is
you probably wouldn't have traded him.
You're not going to trade him. He might not have been what you expected, but
he's a second liner, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, it should be four of your top 6 forwards that are homegrown, established guys.
At a great age, established. You don't have to make any of those moves that Trevor had to deal with. Like it should have been locked in for a decade. Those guys should all be guys where, and I feel bad for Monahan almost the most, because I think it was health that derailed everything.
That wasn't his fault. It was his body.
And the fact that derailed changes the whole picture for this franchise, right? If he was still putting up 30, everything else changes.
Remember, they drafted Bennett, and you're like, this is unbelievable. Like, he's going to slide into the 1C. Monahan will be your second line center. He's good for 30 a year. Don't even sweat it. And now it's just like you surround these guys with talent. This is your core forever. Not.
And even turning that, even if Fox had never said he would come here, and you drafted him and it turned out the same way, you still have
you got Lindholm from it, right? Yeah,
Lindholm and Hannafin from it, right? Like they're, I mean, anyway, it's
not like they're screwed and it's all over. It's just amazing how quickly the entire core has shifted, right? That's all it is. Like Backlund's the holdover. There's nothing else. It's wild.
Yeah, I mean, look at it, right?
Feels like it's been slapped together as opposed to if those 4 guys turned out, right?
Well, and to be fair, when Johnny disappeared in the fashion he did, I think they had to quickly alter plans.
3-0-2 in their last 5 games. Flames in Nashville tonight, 6 o'clock start to take on the Predators.
Get excited for Afterburner.
Afterburner tonight with Rhett Warner, myself.
The Rhettster.
The Rhettster. Before we go, do we want to take a look at our Betway bets from the weekend?
Betway bets. We again Friday football, so we look back today on how things went for Super Wildcard Weekend.
It was one of those things. I went in, don't overthink it. Just go with it.
Yeah, it's a lot of chalk you went with.
There's a lot of chalk.
Joe Public there getting pumped.
I felt good about all of them, to be quite honest.
Yeah.
Even partway through, early on in that Buffalo game, it's like, yeah, don't. Especially after the San Fran came through, it was, yes, they are going to beat Seattle.
It just felt like Buffalo and Cincinnati were going to pull away at some point.
It did,
and they just never did.
And then they were both trailing at the half or whatever the hell it was. So I go 1-2. But you go back to last week, 4-2 over my last.
You'll take that.
6. Anyway, so those are my my wild card weekend picks.
I always hate, and I'm wildly unsuccessful betting on over-unders. So I was smart enough to go with 2 over-unders and failed on both of them and hit the Giants beating Minnesota. That felt like a layup betting against Kirk Cousins in a big game, or Kurt, or whatever his name is, because the GM doesn't know. Kurt. 1-2. Not great.
So we're not going to do it just for the purposes of the discussion. This game tonight, what are we looking at? 2.5. Yeah,
I'm going to take the points. I'm not betting this one, but it was part of my picks, obviously. But I just feel like if we've learned anything from this weekend, they've been competitive. They've been swinging in the balance. Why wouldn't you just take the points? I feel like they're rather close. It's not like one team's way better than the other. Dak hasn't played that great. They've struggled to run the ball. Tampa's run D's pretty good.
I'm probably with you, because if you were to tell me that Tampa at home against Dallas was a 2.5-point favorite, I probably would have believed it.
And they're getting the 2.5.
But they're getting the 2.5.
So that's 5 points better than you thought it was, essentially.
So,
you got to.
Would probably take the points. Retro, I don't know. It's Brady. The problem is he's just screwed me all year with fantasy and all that. So I don't know.
What was the Commie was saying on Friday? No matter what he bet on Brady, the opposite would happen. Brady looks like dog shit. Okay, I'm not betting him. 3 touchdowns to Mike Evans, 400 passing yards, and then Brady's on a heater. We got to bet him. Awful start, no touchdowns. It's been a roller coaster for the Bucs, but when
he's old,
they've got him. Yeah,
he's old. It's finally going to happen.
His girlfriend's young.
It is Mike McCarthy and Dak Prescott and Jerry Jones.
Yeah, Jerry.
Yeah, it's hard not to consider Mike McCarthy. He can go in there and F things up.
Well, yes, isn't it like ages since their last road playoff win? Like for the Cowboys to go on the road and win, it's been like a billion years.
I feel like now I got to take the points. Talking ourselves into it. Anyway, Rhett and I will have no idea who's winning that football game because we're going to be so dialed into the Flames and Predators at 6 o'clock start tonight.
Intermissions, maybe just take a 2-minute break.
I do like to see who Leslie is interviewing, though.
Oh, Ryan Leslie. I was thinking about Leslie.
Yeah, no, Ryan Leslie is, maybe he'll have, it's been Coleman a lot. Maybe it'll be Walker
Living last week as well.
Yeah. But I might watch the football game. So Afterburner tonight. If you don't know what Afterburner is all about, it's a new show we're doing. We do it after every Flames game during the week, and then it'll be on the YouTube for you to watch, or it'll be on your podcast, wherever so download, subscribe, and then you press the little button there. Ding dong, it'll tell you, hey, brand new audio for you. Get it on, and then you can listen to it on your way to work in the morning.
School nights, do it.
There you go. So that's Afterburner coming up tonight, and we'll be back tomorrow. No Frank Seravalli tomorrow.
Boy, it's been a while since we got with him.
Yeah, really kind of lazy prick.
Just leaving us high and dry.
Yeah, leaving us high and dry.
Defection.
So that's going to do it. We'll be back tomorrow, and that'll be the end of the road trip. The odd 5-game 4-city road trip.
Yeah, that is
kind of a different one, and then a bit of a tight turn. This schedule here, they come back
Colorado,
from Nashville,
Wednesday.
And then basically have Colorado coming in on Wednesday.
The last 3 Cup winners in their next 2 games.
There you go. Yeah.
Hey, I have a question. I was going to put this out on Twitter, but I don't know how to word it. Is there a team with less drafted players on it
in the NHL?
Do you know what I mean? In the NHL,
yeah, because they turned so many out. Yeah, that's a good question.
Mangiapane, Backlund, right? Dubé was.
Rasmus
I
Anderson.
don't count. I don't count Pelche, and I hardly count Walker Dewar. I'll count.
Dewar wasn't drafted either, so yeah.
Yeah,
Rosie,
so, man, what do they have? 4 or 5?
Backlund, Mangiapane, Ruzicka,
Dubé.
Anderson, Dubé.
It's not many, is my point. Like,
Stone's been here so long, it almost feels like he
It's not,
was
though.
drafted.
No, they
Has
bought
he
him
not been here
out.
since he was
not.
18? It's been so long.
Shillington
Yeah.
would be, but he's not playing. But
Yeah, no goalies. But maybe if Wolf starts tonight,
can they get him then?
Yeah.
I feel like Daryl's just itching. Can I get a young goalie
Dying
quick?
for it, yeah. Dying for it. Thanks, buddies. Have a great Monday. We'll be back tomorrow. Would sure love you to be a part of it if you could. We'll be on the YouTube, so you can download it, be a part of it. Subscribe, like and subscribe, and like and subscribe.
5 stars.
And we'll see you tomorrow.
all three.
See ya. Yeah.
Oilers suck.
Subscribe.